Hello, and welcome back to the High Council podcast. As you can tell, I'm not excited at all, but we're finally back with a proper podcast. And there's no better way for us to restart this podcast, to get back into it, than where it all began, Fear Street. And so for Fear Street Prom Queen, a review. We obviously have the man who's been here from the beginning, your boy Vector.
Hello, hello, hello. Finally back at it again. Cannot wait to do this review, man. This is gonna be a really good episode, guys.
This should be
Stay tuned
fucking
and have
great.
fun.
It should be great. And then we also have the man who wasn't here last time, but who has gotten hooked on Fear Street, just like we all once were, those many moons ago. We have Call Me Crazy.
Guys, glad to be back. It's Kamikaze here again. I cannot wait for what we're about to be talking about here today. I hope you guys are just as excited as we are.
This should be a great podcast. So as has been stated, we're going to be talking about the new Fear Street Prom Queen, and we actually have very differing opinions. Or I think me and Kami are fairly on the same page, but our boy Vector here, he's got a few differing opinions. But I have some thoughts that I'll throw out, and we'll see if maybe I can sway him a little bit. But let's just take it from the beginning, okay? Vector, did you enjoy the movie at all?
It was a movie for sure. I'll give it that.
It
It
was
was
a movie.
a movie.
It was a movie. All right, Kami, what about you? You enjoyed it a bit more, right?
Okay, so I'll be honest with you guys. From the beginning, I didn't know anything about Fear Street, didn't know much about it, didn't think I'd get into it. And of course, my lovely girlfriend still my same girlfriend now, but she was the one, she's the one that got me into Fear Street. And I'll be honest, I throw it on every Halloween or whenever like we need something to pass by, we throw it on. I absolutely love it because of her. We enjoyed it. There's so much that goes on in these movies, and they did such a great job.
Yeah. I mean, I've loved these movies since we first watched them when we launched this podcast, and I watch them like around the clock now, especially for Halloween. But I do also put them on occasionally, especially the second one, which we're gonna get into. But I think the main area where we differ now is where we stand on this movie, because we pretty much agree that I think we're all unanimous in saying that the second movie, the one with Tommy in it, is the best one. That is the best Fear Street. Then the second best, we agree, is the first one. And then the third one is the third best. But we're getting subjective now in terms of where we rank all the four movies. But the trilogy, we all agree, is an absolutely great trilogy. But we also agree fairly on the order there. But where we differ now is where we rank this one. I think that this one is in contention for being the third best. That is me saying I did enjoy this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought that was the purpose of it. I think Kami, you're fairly on the same level where you think that this one could be the third. If I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe we were on the same track with it. I think you are correct. Yes.
Yeah, but then Vector is very hard on this being the fourth best, or even just being just the worst, because he doesn't like it at all, seemingly. But the
No.
thing,
No.
the thing for me, right, just to really just kind of put this to bed and put this down. The thing that I love about this movie is, for one, I love that they took a different direction from the trilogy, so you know that it's not part of that trilogy. It's obviously the same universe, it's the same timeline and everything, but it's not the same trilogy. It's not from the trilogy. This is a new thing that they're starting. What they have started, we do not know, but we know they started something new. So I love that they went a different direction with this, because this, again, just like the first three movies, feels like a homage in some way. But what I feel like they lent a bit more on in this movie was a bit more the scream direction, which they did go somewhat in the other three. But I feel like in this one they went a bit more that direction in terms of it being a bit more unserious. It was serious. You felt the plot, but they were also messing around with a bunch of shit. Like the fact that, towards the end of the movie, which by the way, if you haven't, figured this already, there will be a shit ton of spoilers. We'll spoil the entire fucking thing. So if you don't want spoilers, watch the movie first and then come back and listen to this wonderful review. But when the poor fucking it's the vice principal. No, it's the principal that ends up on the floor and they just place his arm next to him when they're like, "Oh, he's still alive." They just put the arm down. That was just the nail in the coffin of this being an unserious, serious movie, which I loved. And I also loved the fucked up ideas, the fucked up kills. Like, that's the thing I love the most about these movies, is they do not hold back. Fucking buzzsaw to the fucking face whilst you're holding the hands of your girlfriend. And then she gets fucking electrocuted. And, like, cutting up the fucking stomach of the girl, cutting off both of the hands of the other guy, and then him trying to open the door without his hands. Like, fucked up ideas, shit that is fucked up on purpose. And maybe I sound like a psycho, but when it comes to horror movies, I like not holding back. And they had some fucked up ideas, they had some fun kills, they had some good kills. And I just sat back and enjoyed a fun horror movie. In my opinion, that I think this movie, it knew what it was, and it didn't try to do anything else. The trilogy was serious with a few hints of a few sprinkles of a few jokes, but this was something completely different, and I respect and love the fact that they went a completely different direction to separate it even more. That is my take on it. I don't know if that kind of puts it in a different perspective for you, Vector. I would love to hear what you think. But that's why I enjoy this movie as much as I did. And then you can say what you want to that. I think, considering the way that you sat reacting to the whole movie, I think it would be fine if you elaborate on your feelings on this.
Okay. So, while sitting down and watching Fear Street Prom Queen, it was so tonally different and visually different from all three of the movies from the trilogy. Because when you look at Fear Street 1994 to Fear Street Prom Queen's Shadyville is really bright and really colorful and really 80s pop funk unseriousness. But when you look at Shadyville from 1994, everything's like dark and like run down and like feels like a real city that's been through some hard times. This Shadyville feels completely alien. It feels like I'm in a brand new place that I've never seen before. It honestly, if I had to get, it's giving what's that city from it's giving Derry from Chapter 1. That is what this whole town is giving me. And throughout the trilogy, like, yeah, like throughout this movie, I didn't feel any type of tenseness throughout the whole movie. I didn't feel any type of stakes. I barely liked anybody in this movie. I barely had time to get to know them because we spend the majority of our time in this prom election and like barely got to know. Only one person throughout this entire movie is killed outside of the prom.
True.
Because like for spoilers, the entire plot of this movie is that the killers of this movie are hunting down the prom queen candidates, and only one prom queen candidate is killed outside of this movie, and her kill scene is done in like 3 seconds, and it's so uninspired,
I
and I feel it's so lazy.
I do feel like though I think that Christie's death, I think it was, even though it was kind of quick, I think it was a good just start to like, this is the killer, this is what you're in for, and now you know the intentions of the killer, so you know, you're kind of prepped for what the rest of this movie is going to be about. So you know who the stakes relate to, in a sense, or to one extent, because obviously you don't know you don't know who it is. So it could be it could be Laurie's mother, it could be Tiffany's mother or father or whatever. You don't know who it is, so you think you know that the stakes are for the prom queens, but you don't know which one. If you don't know if they're gonna kill all of them, if it's someone that's just jealous, or if it's someone that tries to eliminate everyone except for one of them. You know, you don't know. So I think it was an effective way of just setting up, this is the movie. But I
Yeah,
do understand your point, and I think I definitely acknowledge what you say about like not recognizing shady fucking, it's
yeah, Shadyville, yeah.
Shadyville, yeah. Like I completely see what you're saying, but I think that also goes to the fact that we haven't seen uh Shady Side. I don't think we haven't seen Shady Side in the 80s.
Yeah, we haven't
I
And
seen
think it was
Shady Side.
also as
I think
well,
that's
like
part of it.
because this one comes in right but after that first one. So Shady Side hasn't gotten through the major tragedies over the time like we've seen
Yeah.
2 and 3 happen. So of course if a town like that's going to be going and experiencing these tragedies, it's going to get worse over time, you know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad as it was in those 80s that they have with this theme. So I think because it was so early on and these things are like replicating itself, it wasn't like in number 2 where it's like, well, it happened this year, this year, this
Hmm.
year. It's not like
It
that
took
in this case.
yeah,
And it was
it
a
took
good setup and kind of like, okay, it used to be really good, but now the tragedies in the other movies make sense of why it
Yeah.
got to the way it is.
if you think about it, Fear Street 2, 1978. This takes place in prom of 88. So
Yeah.
only 10 years passed since
Hmm.
this major event has happened.
Hmm.
Hell, the girl who is still there, Cindy Berman, is probably still at this high school
Yeah.
or still somewhere in this area talking about this incident. And like they barely reference it by like showing like a drawing that happened, but like
Yeah.
some major crap has went down, and it feels like none of that happened in this anywhere near this time frame.
Yeah.
Honestly, this felt like this was early 2000s at the most, because they make it seem like this was forever ago and that this didn't really happen.
I
So that was like a total shift for me.
I think maybe the thing is because like they make it seem as if nothing has they make it seem as nothing has happened since the last prom, where the allegedly the mother killed the father. So like I saw that as well, and I thought it was a bit strange because I thought that would have been more than just a decade ago, and Tommy was a decade ago. But also, when you think about it, Tommy wasn't at the high school. Yes, it was the high school kids or whatever, but it wasn't at the high school. It was at the camp, right? So I think that let's say if we're just, and obviously we don't know all the times of everything happening, but let's say that before Tommy, let's say the last thing to happen before that was the last prom. Let's say that was what, 20 years ago, maybe, so 2 decades, give or take. No, it actually it can't have been 2 decades because then these girls wouldn't have been born. But obviously it was the father, which means that the kids must have been alive. So let's say 15 years in, or like something, right?
Hmm.
So 15 years, that means 5 years before Tommy, which means that at that point it would still be fresh. But now, let's say nothing has happened since Tommy, so that's a whole decade for them to try and make this town better. And also, I feel like even though this movie didn't feel very shady side, it felt 80s. But it didn't feel forced 80s, and I kind of appreciated that. And I thought, I sat with the thought in my head, like, if Tommy was the last thing that happened, that's a decade ago. That means that they've had 10 years to try and rebuild a town and to try and fit into the world again. Because I think I would assume that this sequence, as we saw in the post-credit scene with the witch's mark on the blood of the mother, maybe this is the sequence that restarts this whole thing. Because the first movie is in 94, I believe, which is only 6 years after. But at that point, they established in the first movie that this has been going on for a while. There's been so much shit happening every single year. So I would assume that this prom is probably the beginning of what we kind of see the end of in the trilogy. That's obviously me speculating, but in my head that's a logical reasoning. And then also them not doing anything for, 10 years, nothing happening 10 years before that. I can see a logic there. I obviously completely see your point, Vector. But this is me trying to look at it logically of why they would do this. And I think also, something I also think that all three of us agree about is that this is probably a setup for something new. Which I guess we can go slightly into, but we're obviously going to make a whole episode about that stuff. But I enjoyed the movie for it trying to somewhat segue us into a new universe that isn't part of the trilogy, but is still part of the Shady Side story, if that makes sense.
I think we might be getting some more, only because you guys remember in part 1 in 1994, I believe it is?
Yes.
So you remember that wall where they engraved the names on them of like, who is it, Thomas Slater and all them on that rock or the wall? That don't know if I'm correct or not on this, but I believe it had the years, or if not, it had a bunch of lists of names of who that person might have been next of those killings. So I think that's what they're trying to do, is kind of fill those gaps now, because they did a great job with the major thing that we might be seeing more here in the near future is kind of what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's what since we saw that stone tablet in Fear Street 2 with all the names, like we saw thousands of names.
Yeah, there was a whole fucking bunch.
There's so much to do that I'm excited for, but if you think about it, this, like in the past 3 movies, we've dealt with supernatural, we dealt with otherworldly, we dealt with mystifying like witches and stuff like that, and curses. This one is strictly just like, compared to the motives of the trilogy to this one, it feels very weak and very sudden.
I can understand that, because it's not something that was possessed in somebody to kind of do these killings, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you mean?
And then we got the witch at the very last possible moment of the movie. Like, they gave her less than 3 seconds for her tablet
after the credits.
After the credits. So if we cut that 3 seconds out, the witch has nothing to do with this entire movie, which is the main plot point of the entire trilogy of Sarah Fair.
But
and that's what I have a problem with. It doesn't even feel like this is ever part. It does. If in name only does this say Fear Street to me, the rest of this plot has like nothing to do with it to me. And that's what I have a problem with.
I see what you mean, but I feel like that's tactical though, because when you think about the whole like post-credit scene thing, them leaving something that you should know to only the post-credit scene isn't really something new. Like, if you think about Avengers Infinity War, right? You would have no fucking clue that Captain Marvel was a thing if it wasn't for watching the post-credit scene. Because that's the post-credit scene, right?
That's true.
Nick Fury calls Captain Marvel in the post-credit scene. So if Captain Marvel then all of a sudden shows up in Endgame and you haven't seen the post-credit scene, you'll be like, what the fuck? Where the fuck did Captain Marvel come from? What? What? So I think it was tactical though, of them
But
of
did
them
they
not
do
making
it in all the others as well, though? Like, if we were to watch the credits in the other ones, did they put that in there as well, or why was it only this one?
no,
You know?
because the thing is
The witch
in
was already a main plot point
yeah
in the first
the
three.
the first movie does an amazing job of just establishing the universe. So in the first movie, they establish very clearly that there is something going on. They name drop everything. So they just set up what universe you are in and what rules this universe has. And I think that there's I feel like it was tactical. I feel like they did this on purpose. Regardless of if you think it's stupid or not, I think it was a reason of why they decided to not make the witch the main part of this. Because if we're being completely honest here, right? Most people like go into this movie, you're either gonna have already watched the other three movies or you have never watched Fear Street ever in your life. So if you have already watched the other three movies, you already know what the rules are. You see which date this is put in, so you know that it happens between the first movie and the second movie. You know it happens in between those, so you already know where within the time span you are. If you watch the first three movies, you know where you're at, right? So you already know the rules. Now, if you have never watched Fear Street and this is your first movie, you don't have to dive into figuring out all the rules of the universe in this movie. So I think they did it on purpose because they're starting something new, I'm assuming. Them not making this extremely witch heavy and just leaving it to the end so that you know that, well, this whole family has been possessed by the witch. I think that's tactical so that they don't have to waste a whole bunch of time re-explaining the rules. Because if they were going to have witch shit in this, they would have to spend 30, 40 minutes explaining the rules again, something that we've already had a trilogy to work with. So if you just dive into this, you've never watched Fear Street, this is a simple introduction to the universe. And then you'll see the blood at the end, and you'll see the symbol, and you'll be like, "What the fuck is this?" And you'll probably, you know, if you're a normal human, you'll
Probably go back to the first three.
Exactly. And then you'll be like, "Oh shit, now I know what's going on." You recognize the symbol and everything.
So you believe that this was more of a standalone?
I think this is a standalone for them to just show that they are going to do more with this universe that disregards the characters we already know.
Well, even given that, like, this movie is still shorter than all three of them, and honestly, I just don't like how like short it was, because like if you're gonna give me a movie, I'd rather have it really fleshed out, and like I don't really feel like this was fleshed out too much with the characters. Like, in reality, we don't really spend that much time with them to get to know or care about them, because the main people that get axed off in this movie are the rivals of our main protagonist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we don't know anything about these people besides that they're with the antagonist.
Yeah.
With the antagonistic group of our protagonist.
But I feel like they kind of did a decent job establishing, like, okay, the girl that we're following, she's more like the characters that we already know and love from the trilogy. She's like the normal one. She's doing this, whatever the fuck, right? I think they did a good job of just I feel like that's all they needed to do for us to really understand where we're at. Okay, she is the normal one. She's got this best friend who just seems like a cool girl who's got like a sense of humor. And then these are the bitches. Fuck the wolf pack, you know what I'm saying? And
stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man. Fucking the best quote from this fucking I'm using that for the rest of my fucking life. Fuck the wolf pack. Stick it to the man. Like, that's gonna be a part of me now. But I think they did a decent job of just. I feel like this movie is to a half extent a quote unquote throwaway movie. And what I mean with that is I think all they're doing with this movie is just saying, this is just us giving you something so that you know we are doing something with this universe that doesn't have anything to do with our old protagonists and stuff like that. but it will be the same universe. This is the same universe.
The,
Here's the witch symbol. Here's this. It's the same city, same this, same that, but it's a different story. Here you go. This is just the the beginning of the meal. Like this is a 5-course meal. This is the starter. It's a shorter movie, but you already know the rules. So we're just gonna give you a nudge. Just have a bit of fun with this. Don't take it too seriously. Just have a bit of fun. Have a few laughs. Enjoy the gruesome fucking deaths. Because let's be honest here, those some of these deaths were they were gruesome.
They're crazy.
They're crazy. And I love that. Just enjoy this, nibble on this for a second, and then we got something else coming down the line. Because they would definitely not have done the after credit scene if there wasn't something else coming down the line. Now, what that is, I have no clue. If it's a TV show or whatever the fuck. But there's definitely something coming down the line. And I personally am really fucking excited for it. Because I think that with this movie, they showed that we can do shit with this universe. Something that I think everyone has known since the trilogy came out. But they're just showing like we're not slaves to the trilogy. We're not going to have to hint back to it all the time. This is just a movie for the people who know what the fuck is going on. But also, it's a very easy segue for people that have never seen anything to watch this first, get you curious enough to what this universe is, and then watch the trilogy. That's what I feel.
yeah, the only way I feel the way I feel is because I had to stack this movie pound for pound, bar for bar with each of the other three, and I couldn't find. I could like obviously two is the best. I couldn't stack it against 1 or 3, even though 3 is the most panned out and the longest one for obvious reasons because it's the closer. But I just couldn't find myself seeing that this movie, compared to what I know with the trilogy, stacking up against, not even like as the trilogy as a whole, like each movie individually, I couldn't find myself stacking it higher than them.
And that's totally fucking fair. And I totally see and agree with your point. And like for me, it's only the only reason I rank it higher than the third one is I had more fun watching this movie. I just sat back and had a fun time with a slasher movie, which I do love, and it took me back to like the genuine proper slasher movies that we have had previously. And I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't too witch heavy and stuff like that, and that it wasn't too connected, but it was connected enough to the point where you understood where you were. At least in my opinion, that's what I feel. I don't know.
Then that might be my problem because I think I'm more like supernatural heavy, so that's why I think I catered so hard
no,
to
but
the other movies instead of this one. I think that just might be my bias.
I get it. I mean I feel like the first one and the second one were very slasher heavy. At least Tommy was it was possession quickly, but I feel like it was still very slasher heavy in the end, like him just running around mutilating people. But so I think that the reason why, like I said earlier, the reason why this movie wasn't super witch heavy was because they couldn't be wasting too much time like re-explaining the rules. But I mean,
which I understand.
Yeah. I don't know, Kami, maybe you have I feel like you might be like
what are your opinions
I think
this?
you might be a bit in the middle of me, and because Vector is fairly negative, I'm fairly positive. I think you might be a bit more in the middle. Right?
Vector's got a good grasp on me right now, I won't lie. I'm still kind of put on your side a little bit for now, but Vector makes a good point with the whole, like, where it might have been they threw it in there, it feels like, only because, like, the whole Fear Streets have been always because of the Seraph year. So, like, the fact that, like, they threw it in without knowing right off the bat that it was also a Seraph year, or it was a kind of like that witch was possessed in that sense, it kind of didn't feel like it fit a little bit. I don't know. But at the same time, they did such a great job with it, and that's kind of where I'm kind of still set on what we have talked about earlier with me and you, with the green on kind of where it stands.
Yeah.
I understand his points, and you make also good points as well. I'm still kind of where I'm set, just because I've seen it multiple times. I'll be honest, and I enjoy it every single time.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys say, you can't just jump in it. When you watch it, you're always starting with the first one, and we're going from there. You
Yeah.
know, like everyone, no one's gonna jump in and watch the third one right off the bat, or go in
Mhm.
and jump Prom Queen right off the bat.
Yeah.
I can understand the Prom Queen.
Yeah.
Some people wrapping it up because that one came out in May of 25.
Yeah.
So that was like a big hype thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, what's this? What's this?" And maybe
Yeah.
that got them into watching 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But now this new Prom Queen came out, and I don't know. Maybe some people kind of noticed, and they're like, "Oh, wait, there's a sequel to that. Let's
Yeah.
watch that first, and then watch the new one." You
Yeah.
know, and a lot of time people would see that and kind of watch those before
Mhm.
watching this new Prom Queen that had come out in May.
Yeah. I do also feel like this one, with what they have done with this movie as well. I think that they have essentially made a movie that Eve let's say that you don't feel like you want to watch a whole trilogy again. But you kind of
Mm-hmm.
you want like a good movie that you can just watch that one movie for Halloween. I think this
Mm-hmm.
is one of those good movies that you can just whenever, let's say for Halloween or just before Halloween, like you're inviting some people over for like a Halloween like party type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is one of those movies where you can just put on because it's just a fun slasher movie. You don't have to pay that much attention. And as well, like if you know Fear
Yeah, and
Street,
you're
if you know Fear Street,
yup.
you can just put this shit on and you can be like, oh, this is Fear Street. We're gonna have fun, and you also don't have to sit and pay attention to everything because you already watched it. I feel like this is a good run of the mill where you can just watch it. You can just put it on, even if you lock into it and pay attention to the movie, or if you don't. I feel like it's a good movie. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's a jack of all trades but king of none. That's what I feel
Yeah,
at
and
least.
I agree with that because I want to say like about a month ago we put on Fear Street 2, me and my girlfriend,
Yeah,
and we put it on just because like we've already seen it, but again, it's nice to put on the Halloween season's coming up. We might
yeah,
as well start getting in the season for it, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like we can still put it on, put it in the background, we still know what's going on.
yeah.
We can still hang out, do whatever, but we at least still have it on. It's such a great
Mm-hmm.
like trilogy that they have, and now with having Prom Queen too, it's like it's great to kind of just have to watch it in case like you want something to put on, get in the mood for the festivities of Halloween coming up soon, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where that's at, and
Mm-hmm.
it's great. They did a great job, and I can't wait to see what more they have planned for it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. Maybe you disagree, Vector, but I do feel like this is a movie that you can just put on. Completely understand if you hate it too much to the point where you can even watch it again. But to me, like, because the thing for me with the second one, because I have, and this is not an issue with the second one. I'm just gonna put that like this is just a good thing if anything. But genuinely, every time I've tried to put the second one on in the background a few times. Every single time Tommy starts his full on massacre, I do just lock into the movie and I watch it. I have to
Yep,
lock into it because I just fucking I
they're great
love
fashion.
I love that fucking part of that movie. I love how they've
Hmm.
done that. It's so fucking great. And so I end up just stopping whatever I'm doing and just watching the massacre.
Yep.
Like I couldn't see myself relating too much to Lori too much. I mean,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
I like Dina, I like Sam,
yeah.
I like the Beard sisters, Ziggy. Ziggy was my favorite. I like Ziggy in the second one, and
Yeah,
Tommy,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Sarah. But Sarah and Hannah from the third one, like even though like they're like the main attraction, I could not find myself liking them
No, yeah, me neither.
as much, even though they're the most important people in the franchise
Yeah,
at this point.
they're
Like
they're the
I couldn't
cornerstones of the whole thing, but you don't really get
Yep.
that
like
much into them.
I don't like really care about them, but I
Yeah,
forced myself to do it so I could finish the story. And like honestly, I probably would have liked Lori more if I'm not saying that really saying that this is not my favorite because I just wished we had spent a little bit more time and had a little bit more story beat and it was fleshed out a little bit more.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I just think it was too short for me. And that's my
I
opinion.
understand.
It's just too short for me.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I completely get that, and that's why I've tried to see it from the view that I have, that which I've tried to explain through the podcast, is that if you look at it through through another lens of this kind of being like like this is the pre-drinks type of thing. I feel like if you look at it through that lens, it's easier to appreciate what it was. But I completely agree. And I think another thing that kind of puts Lori off, but also kind of makes her an interesting character, is like the way that she gets looked at in this movie is the same way that the Sunnyvale people look at the whole of Shadyside in the first movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we
Which
see,
we didn't get.
what,
We didn't get any of Sunnyvale in this movie.
no, but I in my head I feel like that's fine because this is just an internal shit stain within
Yeah, and I'm glad.
within Shadyside.
I'm
So
glad that we didn't really.
I'm glad they kind of isolated it. But I think like this is basically the first movie, but instead of it being the whole town getting the shit because of what it is, it's one girl instead. So basically what they've done is instead of taking the whole like city, what they have done is instead of taking the whole city, they've taken the school, and then instead of taking just Shadyside, what they've done is they've taken this one girl. So they've basically just minimized what all of this was and turned it into internally in the school instead of being the area that it was, if that makes sense. That's at least the easiest like transition I could see with this. So I think that what they've done with this movie is they have made it relatable enough to you for you to understand the situation and to know which universe you're in, but it's still just a pre-drinks for hopefully something even bigger and better coming down the line, I'm assuming.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to see the more of the killers.
I can't wait to see what they plan next, and I think that they're definitely cooking something up. I think they made it pretty obvious with this movie what they're actually that they are setting something up for this.
Well, they also showed a couple killers, like that kid with the bat, the priest in that chapel.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they do something more. I definitely think that seeing this prom queen, that they'll be doing something like that in this near future, and I really hope they do it and it comes out such an amazing just as the other ones has.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, we need that happen.
And to anyone listening, I think that's probably what we're gonna do on the next episode. Is we're going to put out some thoughts about where we think this universe might be going. We're all probably gonna have some different thoughts. I think we're going to try to establish a thought of where it goes. And I think that's going to be a pretty fucking good episode. And we're definitely going to have to get a guy on that if he's got the time for it. So I think that this is a good place to wrap up this review. We've put out our thoughts. We're definitely going to dive into some more thoughts. I'm going to watch this movie probably at least one more time before the next episode and get maybe even a different opinion. Maybe I'll lean more to Vector's side. Maybe I'll notice some more good things that I can point out. I'm definitely gonna watch it again before the next episode, which we're gonna try to get out on Wednesday. And I think that this movie is a good introduction to whatever is going to come down the pipe, because I've been waiting for some more Fear Street for a while. I know that the other guys have as well. So I'm just excited to see where this is going to go. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
2026.
Oh, bro, I'm so excited for what they might do, and I hope they already start to give us a few teasers this year. If not, give us some shit next year, next Halloween. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope they start already next year, but I don't want them to rush it. But I do hope they've probably already started to cook something up, I'm assuming. But thank you all so much for listening to another episode. A reinvigorated episode of the High Council podcast. This episode is sponsored by Rusher MK, who has sponsored this episode with some money. The beautiful, beautiful man that he is. We all love him. He's all of our friends.
Thank you, Rusher.
We do love him.
Rusher.
He's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful head.
I joined in last second, but thanks, Rusher.
And thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We have been, once again, the High Council podcast. And remember, if you do not follow, subscribe, or whatever the fuck it is, we're sending Tommy on your ass. And he's going to fuck you up and your whole fucking family. So thank you.
And for years to come.
For years to come, because he ain't the only one, pal. There's a spirit in that bitch. And he's also undead. But thank you. And we will hopefully see you on the next episode of the High Council podcast. Bye-bye.